So welcome back, guys. We've been able to create our own forms. We've been able to submit the forms using Eloquent, and in this video we're going to be using Query Builder to actually submit those data into our database. Because Laravel has already provided us with the migration for the users table, we were unable to create our own migration, but in this video we're going to create a different migration for a different table. So let's just get started and do that. I want to say, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe and turn on notification. So to actually create migration, it's easy. Just come over to your terminal and run the command php artisan make migration, and you're just going to give your migration a name, and this will be create let's say category table, and this create category table, and this will go over and create the migration for us. Let's just click enter, and that has created the migration. So we can find this migration under database folder, and right here inside the migration you can see the migration we just created, and this should be create my categories, because at the end of the day we also want to use Eloquent, and I explained in the last video that this work with singular and plural. If the model for the model has to be a singular while the table has to be a plural, I mean the name. So let's just change this to categories, just like this, and right here you can see this table. This will give the table an ID, and also the timestamps means they created that and updated that. So that's what we need, and we also want to have a name for this table. So let's just go ahead and say this should be a string. This particular line represents columns in your database. So at the end of the day, when you run this migration, this particular line will create a new column with the name that you've given to it. So let's give this a name of name. So this will have a column with a name of name, and right here let's just give another column, let's say table, and this will be a test, and this will be description. And there are a lot of things you can actually do from here. You can give a table and an integer, and this will create a column with an integer value. That means only numbers can actually be input into those tables. And you can also do something. You can also give this a nullable value. That means this will be nullable, it won't be required to be filled, and by default you can also give it a value. So you can say default, and whatever you give here will be the default value for. So for now we're just going to do the nullable, which we also just give the column a nullable value. So this looks okay for now, and we can actually go ahead and do more. You can have the we have more properties that you can actually do. We have the long test, we have the boolean value, we have the JSON value. So it all depends on you, but now I'm just going to stop right here. And the next thing we can do right here is to actually create this table. So let's just say php artisan migrate. This has created this table for us. So to verify, let's just go over to our database and see. So it's php-myadmin. So right here in our database, you can see the new table that we just created, and if I should click this, and you can see the role of name, description, and if you check the value, the structure, you can see this is a text while this is a string. So it all depends on the type of value you want to input in your table that would determine the type of rows you're creating. If you're probably going to have a very long text, you can change this to a long text, and to actually do that is easy. Just come over here, and this will be a long text. It all depends on you. And if you also check this column, you can see the nullable value is set to yes, and that's because we set it right here. So that's that for creating migration. We can now go ahead and create the model. So to actually insert data into this table that we just created, we're going to be using the query builder. And to actually do that, we can go ahead and build a form just like this. But for the sake of this video, and we're not going to be focusing much on query builder for this tutorial, we're going to be focusing more on Eloquent. I'm just going to be using dummy data, and I'm going to be running this from the controller. So let's just go ahead and open our controller. The first thing we need to do before we actually open the controller and write this code is to go to our web.php file and actually create a route for this. So the route could be get. So want to say query builder, and right here we want to use our form controller. So this will be form controller, this will be class. Right here I want to have a method called query builder, and this is all we need to do. So let's just go ahead and create this method right here. So let's just go ahead and say public function, and this will be query builder. So to actually verify that this is working, let's just try to return a string. Let's say OK. So if we go ahead in our browser and we actually see this and we say query builder, so you get the OK. So let's just go ahead and create this. So we're going to create an array of data that we're going to insert. So right here, let's just say this is insert. Let's call it insert. And right here, we're going to create an array. And the first, we're going to have a name, and this name will be anything else. Let's say categories. It could be, for example, let's take a shopping website, for example, that they have household. So the next is the description. So let's just give this a random name. Let's say this is a description for household. Are these actually household materials? It all depends on whatever name you choose to give it. So this should be household, and right here, this is it. So using the query builder now, we can just say db, and let's just click enter, and this will import the query builder for us. And if you check here, we have the query builder right here. So let's just do this, and the first thing we're going to give it is a table, because we're not using Eloquent now. We have to specify the table which we want to perform the operation on. So if we're using Eloquent, there is a relationship between the tables and the Eloquent that it automatically gets the table. So right here, let's just say we're going to the categories table, and right here we want to perform an insert, and we're going to pass the array that we created, and this is everything we need to do. So if we go ahead and run this again, let's just run this again. You can see we're not getting any error, which is actually a good sign. So let's just go ahead and check our database right now, and let's see if the record is being updated. So let's go over to our database, which is this, and you can see the category, and we have the record right here. So this is how to actually use query builder. This is insert. You can also use select, you can use update, delete. It all depends on you, but this is actually how you get started using query builder. And I'll see you next video for more videos.